Continuous variable valve timing technology. Today, let's see what's inside and how it works. Now, the purpose of variable valve timing is that it allows these valves to open up at either earlier or later times in the combustion cycle. That'll allow either more or less air in the combustion chamber, giving you better efficiency, lower emissions, and better performance. So here we've got a double overhead cam engine, and if we look at the intake camshaft, you'll see that it's got this cam profile on it. Now when this cam profile rotates, it's going to contact and push down on these two buckets over here, which in turn is going to push down on the valve and the valve spring. Now the rotation of the camshafts go to the gears at the front, which in turn is turned by the timing chain, which is linked to the crankshaft. Now at the bottom of the head inside the combustion chamber, this valve is going to be moving in and out to let air in according to where the piston is at in its 4-stroke cycle. Now there are advantages to having this valve timing varied, and that's where VVT comes in. Now the exhaust camshaft here has a variable valve timing gear that is oil control actuated, while the intake side is electronically controlled, as it's a bit newer. So what this is going to do is phase the angle between the crankshaft or the chain and the output of which is the camshaft lobes over here, and that's all going to be controlled closed loop through the cam and crank position sensors. This is a Genesis G70 Theta 2 engine. On top of the timing cover here, we've got this piece that'll go over this, and it's got this plug on it. That's going to power these brushes over here, and that in turn is going to go on these slip rings or commutator surface to power an electric motor inside of here. That's right, by using rotational force of an electric motor, we can retard or advance the timing. If I plop the chain off here, let's take a look at how this actuator works. Now the inside surface here is going to be bolted up to our camshaft. Meanwhile, the sprocket and the entire phaser rotates at the speed of the chain. Now, as I put this together, you'll see there's this little notch inside of there, and that only allows this phaser to work up to 40 degrees. Electric cam phasers have been around for a little while now, but they do have their issues. These earlier Theta ones had issues where the brushes were too hard and they would just wear into the surface here, requiring you an entire timing chain job, which is pretty expensive. There was a little plug inside of here that I already pulled out. That would leak and fill this whole thing with oil. As you imagine, these brushes do need to run dry, but they are really easy to replace item if it does wear out. Alright, so let's fire this thing up here and see what it does. As you can see, it doesn't rotate too fast, and you really wouldn't want it to, because you want very nice precise adjustment of that camshaft. Keep in mind, this entire cam phaser is also going to be rotating at the speed of the timing chain. Now, because this is an electric motor, you can also wind it back in reverse when you want to retard timing. And while this is a typical DC motor, it moves continuously, you're only going to be moving from lock to vary that cam phase about 40 degrees or so. So let's see if we can undo these torques and see what spins this thing inside. They don't even have Loctite on them. Okay, this ring comes off here. That reveals a pressed in bearing. Great, I can't do much about that. Okay, this thing started spinning here. You got more bearing on the inside here. Now the pieces are falling off. That'll be our input side because it has the chain sprocket on it. And this might be the electric motor side. Okay, I already got impatient. I got my press out here. I'm just going to press the bore of this and see if that does anything. There's pieces falling out. That takes the bearing out the middle. The puller on there. Okay, so the bearing is out. It's got teeth on this end, but we still have this electric motor to get out. Alright, I've waited long enough. Let's get the grinder out. So here's a look at the ECVT actuator. You see we've got our slip rings on this side that had our brushes on them, and you flip them over and there's another set of brushes on them. That means there's 2 points of wear, and you'll see that these brushes kind of sit in these pockets and these springs came popping out. Now those brushes are now going to power another commutator surface over here, which in turn are now going to power your field magnets. And if I can remove this, it's got my daughter's old sweater here. Let's see if we can pull this apart. Lots of magnetic dust. So here's a look inside the electric motor. This here would be the rotor with the windings. It's going to be splined to this piece over here, which goes to the output, which is the camshaft. And then the input is actually the body housing over here. It's got the magnets inside to form the stator, and that's bolted with those Torx bolts to the timing gear to form the input. Now, unlike an oil control cam phaser, you don't have a physical locking pin to lock the input and the output together, other than this little tooth here that limits your rotation. And one of the advantages of having an electric motor is that you don't need that locking pin. You don't even have to wait on oil pressure or spring pressure to build up. You just spin the electric motor up to the exact cam phase that you want relative to the crank phase, and then you've got your target timing. Now these are typically found only on the intake valves because you can control them a lot faster. Now I want you to take note of how many extra parts, bearings, brushes, and things we have inside of here compared to an oil controlled cam phaser. So here's how variable valve timing could help your car's engine. Now remember, we've got 4 strokes. The intake strokes will bring in fresh air. The piston is going to move up to compress that. Then the expansion is going to happen when the combustion occurs. The piston is going to move down to rotate the crankshaft. And then finally it'll come back up to exhaust all that gas out the window. Now during very low engine loads, I'm going to delay the intake's closing by retarding its timing. So as this piston is moving up, compressing air, some of that air is now going to be expelled back out into the intake here, and essentially I've got a smaller compressed air region or a smaller engine, and therefore I burn less fuel. Now during high-speed maneuvers, I'm going to delay the closing of the exhaust valve. So as this piston is pushing that exhaust back out the valve this way, it's going to create a scavenging effect as it tries to pull intake air in and fill up this cylinder area with more air. More air in the cylinder will give you better combustion and more power. Now at constant speed, like on the highway, we're going to advance the intake valve's timing. So as this piston is pushing up through its exhaust stroke and most of the exhaust is going out this way, we're going to open up the intake valve to allow some of that exhaust to go back into the intake plenum. And then it's going to be sucked in the next cycle so that it's reburning some exhaust gases, kind of like an exhaust gas recirculation system, and that gives you better emissions control. Now on the exhaust side, we have an oil controlled cam phaser. This is going to again vary the input coming from the timing chain to the output of the camshaft using oil pressure. Now oil pressure is going to be sent up into the head from the oil lubrication system, and it's going to come to this solenoid here, which is going to control the amount of oil pressure going into this hole here on the head, which in turn is going to go into this hole here to feed the cam phaser to either advance or retard the timing. So let's pull this apart here and see how it works. First off, we've got 5-pointed torque, so that's going to be fun to get off. And then on this side we have a giant return spring. Now the oil control valve consists of a solenoid and a plunger inside of there, and that's going to move that spool valve to redirect oil pressure, but it's also got this screen on it, and if you look closely, it's pretty dirty. Now this engine specifically had a cracked piston, probably due to detonation, so I don't suspect an oiling issue, but this is a great way to check the health of your engine. Okay, I found the right bit. It's a 5-star Torx bit. Alright, so that bolt is too far gone. I use my bolt extractors here to get it out. Now I can take this cover off. So here's a look inside of a variable valve timing actuator. The first thing you'll see is we've got a spring-loaded lock pin, and that's going to lock into this hole over here to lock our input, which is our sprocket, camshaft, which is going to bolt up to here. Quick wipe down with my daughter's sweater. Taking a look inside this actuator, you'll notice that there's a large pocket on this side and a smaller pocket on this side, and I can rotate the input relative to the output by filling these areas on the back side here with oil. Now the reason it won't stay there is because there is a giant return spring on the back over here. So who wants to do the honors of removing a giant return spring without getting hurt? Ah, that wasn't bad. Come on. There's not that much power in there. So now without the return spring, I can freely move this back and forth, and you'll see I get about 15 degrees or so of freedom. Not as much as that electric variable actuator. Now, but depending on which side you send oil to, it'll either advance or retard timing. You'll also see that we've got these oil seals inside of here, and that seals these interfaces between both sides. So let's see if we can get this apart. The seals will probably come out flying. Oh look, most of the seals are intact actually. Check that out. The little pieces of plastic. Alright, so checking out the little seal here, you'll see that they're actually spring loaded. Now this is the rotor piece that's going to bolt up to the camshaft. The first thing you're going to do when you want to actuate is send oil pressure inside of here through the camshaft itself down to unlock this pin. Once this pin is now unlocked, the input and output can now move relative to each other, and you can adjust cam phasing. Once that oil pressure backs off, these are going to automatically lock back together like a fail-safe mode. Now at higher mileages, this pin is going to start to get sticky, and this area here is going to start wearing out. That's going to allow the pin to not lock all the time. Then on a cold morning, you go and start your car, you don't have enough oil pressure built up inside of these pockets, and you hear a big rattle on cold starts. That's this variable valve timing gear wearing out. Now after a few seconds, it's going to build oil pressure, or the pin might eventually find itself to become locked, and then your car will be fine to drive the rest of the day. Now, the biggest disadvantage to using an oil control variable valve timer is because it depends on oil, and a lot of oil varies between engine to engine. Oil level is going to vary, the quality is going to vary, people don't change their oil on time, it gets dirty. This is at the very top or the end of the lubrication system, so it's the last thing to receive oil pressure. Because of that, these systems can eventually fail, wear out, or cause engine timing codes. So here's a look at the camshaft profile, and you'll see that at the bottom here it's like a semicircle and does not push down on the valve spring. As it reaches here, it's going to start climbing and climbing, and this difference here is the lift, or the distance that it's going to push that valve down by to allow air to enter the cylinder. Now in this camshaft profile, the lift is going to start from this point and go all the way around to this point, and that is called the duration of the lift relative to the circularity of the camshaft. Finally, we have the phase angle, which is the degree at when the cam profile relative to top and bottom dead center is going to hit the maximum lift. Now there's many different types of ways you can vary the camshaft profile to give you optimal performance. The most obvious of which is to have different camshaft profiles that you select from, and VTEC is one of the more popular branded versions of those. Now Valvetronica is another one that BMW uses, and that uses an extra eccentric shaft between the camshaft and the valves themselves, and that gives you infinite adjustability in terms of the lift. Hyundai also has variable duration technology, but the best one ever is the free valve from Koenigsegg. They have no need for any camshafts or timing chains or variable valve actuators. They just use a pneumatic actuator here to control the individual valves by themselves on an internal combustion engine. And that's a look at two different types of variable valve timing technology. I think it's pretty cool that these things have to work while also moving at thousands of RPM for many, many miles. Now, electric actuators like this have been around for about 15 years at least, while oil control ones have been around for at least 30 years already. Automotive technology is moving very slowly, so these are going to have a lot of relevance in the years to come. Take care and subscribe for more.